Welcome to Millennial Meets Gen Z. I'm Allison, a millennial who grew up in the 90's, surrounded by movies, music, and TV that shaped how I understand stories, culture, and the world around me.
And I'm Hannah, I'm Gen Z, and while I didn't directly grow up in the 90's, I've always loved it. I was obsessed with my mom's style growing up, the butterfly clips, the clothes, the vibe, things like that. And even though I never experienced the decade myself, I'm still obsessed with it.
And this podcast exists because Hannah hasn't seen most of these movies or shows, and she's in love with the idea of the 90's, but never really lived through it. So, this was the best way that I know how to introduce her to it. The stories that shaped us, the music that we played loud, blasted, and the TV shows that everyone talks about the next day, back when we weren't binge watching. And we had to wait a week to see them. For me, I'm a culture junkie. I spent a lot of time growing up and watching movies and TV, not just for the entertainment, but also trying to understand the storylines and the lessons and why certain moments just stick with us long after the credits roll.
For me, it's all about experiencing it for the first time. I get to see these stories with fresh eyes and react in real time. I also get to finally understand why they meant so much to an entirely different generation.
So each episode, we press play on a piece of 90's pop culture. Thanks for joining us for it. One of us is reliving the nostalgia, and the other is discovering it for the very first time. And we talk about what made it unforgettable. So grab your snacks, press play while we rewind. Now, I think I was introduced to this movie by my brother, or if I wasn't, at least we like bonded over it. I can't quite remember, but we would shout "cool runnings." And my brother's 4 years older, and he's been like really great influence on me for what was cool at the time. Like if he liked it, I liked it. Sometimes to his dismay, to be honest with you. When he was trying to like carve out his own path, he had his little sister constantly following behind. So sorry, bro. That's what happens when you're the trailblazer. But Cool Runnings is a 1993 Disney film based on a true story of the first Jamaican bobsled team competing in the 1998 Winter Olympics in Calgary, Canada. Cold. It does take a significant amount of creative liberties, portraying the team as underdogs who were initially ridiculed but earning respect, while the real team, was actually welcomed warmly and recruited from the Jamaican army, not track sprinters as depicted. The film popularized the story of the unlikely Caribbean team in a cold weather sport, although the actual events of the movie are a little bit fictionalized for dramatic effect. Um, Before we get into the background, what did you think of the movie?
I really like this movie. I was surprised how much I liked this movie. I gave it an 8.7 out of 10 rating. Very specific, but I had to be specific because I don't know, it kind of reminded me of like the vibes of Disney's Cloud 9. I believe that was Disney, Cloud 9. It gave me like those vibes, like being a sporty movie, but it was so funny and it kind of made me sad in certain parts, but it was overall just like a very uplifting, good for the weather kind of movie. And my favorite character, I have to say, is Junior. I felt bad for him in certain moments, but I thought he was just so cute and wholesome. I was like, "Aw."
Well, I have seen Cloud 9. It was a little like later released, so it wasn't really in my time period. I did watch it a few years ago though, because my cousin, hi Tyler, is actually a background actor in that movie. And so I do have a reference point at least for that that just because it was on TV and I like distinctly watched it because he told me that I never knew at the time that he was in it, but I found out later that he had been a background actor in that movie. And he's like, "Oh, I didn't tell you that." And I was like, So when it was on TV, I was like, I'm zooming in and I paused it. It's like, there he is. Um, yeah, that's funny. We'll have to like tag him when we post when we post out about that. But yeah, the movie was really good and I definitely enjoyed watching it again. I haven't seen it in a few years, so Cool Runnings that is. And The interesting thing was like researching the background. So the origins of the Jamaican bobsled team trace actually back to a conversation between two American men in Jamaica, George Fitch and William Maloney, in a bar in Jamaica. And Fitch was an American businessman living in Jamaica, and he actually like funded a lot of what they did, what he could fund anyway. And at the time, the two were discussing the idea that Jamaican athletes were among the best in the world, particularly the sprinters. And around that same time, popular in Jamaica is the pushcart races, as we see in the movie, which reminded them a lot of bobsledding, minus the ice, of course. So, what stood out to them was the importance of the start in bobsled racing, that you have like only so long to like really get in the bobsled and get going and get that push to get really fast. And a strong start relies heavily on speed and power. And so, they thought it would make sprinters an ideal fit. From there, the idea formed that Jamaica's top sprinters could be a natural match for the sport. But after the dangerous nature of bobsledding, kind of like we see in the movie, it failed to win over Jamaica's summer Olympians. They decided to hold an open tryout for the Winter Olympics in Calgary. And Fitch which was interesting that also Fitch thought like Irving Blitzer actually represented him, and it did not. There's like an interview that he did that he was like, I don't think this represents me. I'm a businessman. I wasn't a failed bobsledder or something, which is kind of funny because actually Irving was meant to represent Howard Seiler, who's not a failed bobsledder, but he was a former US Olympic bobsledder who ultimately helped guide the team into Olympic qualification. And the original team consisted of Devin Harris, Dudley Stokes, Michael White, and Freddie Powell, with Howard Seiler as their coach. Powell was later replaced by Chris Stokes, which was Dudley's brother. And when when the coach had to go back to work 3 months before the games, it was handed off to Patrick Brown. So if you did any research, you probably came across stuff about Patrick Brown. He actually then finished them up, taking them into training and then into the Olympics. And the Olympics was like far less complicated than it is today. According to Brown, the team only needed to compete and finish in one World Cup event to qualify, regardless of how they placed in that event at the time. Um, and then it wasn't until like a month before the Olympics that he suggested they do a four-man bobsled entry, because they have a two-man bobsled entry and then they also have a four-man bobsled entry. So originally they were going with the two, and then they entered at the last minute kind of the four. But they had trained on Lake Placid for like a month using the four-man sled. And they only have like 3 weeks of practice really before the games began. So by the time they reached Calgary in 1988, the coach, Pat Brown, was only 21 years old. Can you imagine coaching an Olympic team at your age?
Oh
No.
no. No.
So, yeah, and within 4 months and very little funding and limited resources, he had to prepare the team. The Olympics Games marked their 13th four-man run. At the time, transportation involved like five people riding in a Fiat Panda, he said. And after the races, what they would do is they would like open the back of this car and they would sell t-shirts, like Jamaica t-shirts, like the ones we see in the movies, out of the back of the car so that they could afford to go out to dinner that night or pay for things that they need. Now, like I said, most of the team members actually came from military backgrounds, bringing like that discipline and that structure to the group, because that's who was willing to take the risk, probably. Uh, so they trained a little bit in Great Britain. So a couple of them, I think he said three of the five guys had gotten to see snow like right before during their training. So they didn't just show up there like they did in the movie and having never seen snow. However, they didn't get a lot of experience with it. But that crash, sorry, spoiler alert, but that crash that we did see was a real event that exactly happened. And then they walked their cart to the end to finish. And that's kind of like what gave a lot, like we see in the movie, it gave like a lot of people respect for them for what they did, because they really weren't like, while they were kind of like warmly welcomed initially, they were kind of like also a little bit of they didn't get as much as what we said in the movie of backlash, but they did get a little bit just because they were new. This is a fraternity of a sport, and they wanted them to like really take it seriously. And the guys were serious athletes and they weren't joking around like we see in the movie. That's kind of a fun part that was added. So since 1988, Jamaica has actually continued to compete in the Winter Olympics with both men's and women's teams, including qualifying again in 2022. Coach Pat Brown is still their coach. He said one of the things he values most is how proud the athletes are to represent their country. Most recently, they earned a gold medal at the North American Cup in Whistler, and they are working towards the qualification for the 2026 Winter Olympics in Milano Cortina. So the they have qualifiers this month, and then the Olympics are next month. So are you going to be watching them if they make it?
Well, now I have to. After seeing this movie, I kind of have to. I
All
don't
right.
think I've ever watched the Olympics. Like, where can I watch the Olympics?
You can actually stream them online. They'll be broadcasted, the Winter Olympics will. And you can also follow like Team Jamaica has a Instagram, like it's literally just Team Jamaica. Now, I will say that it's not just the Bob's and this is the thing. Through the rest of the movie, we're going to call it Bobsled Team because that's what it's called in the movie. However, in real life, it's called Bobsleigh Team. So, but you can the Instagram is for not just the Bobsleigh team, but it's also for the rest of the Jamaican athletes as well. So you'll see like some promotion of this team in particular on Instagram. As far as I know, they don't have any other separate Instagram, but I did find that you can at least follow them there. But yeah, you'll have to check out if you Google Winter Olympics, it'll probably come up where with a live stream. Usually many of the networks live stream it.
Okay. Okay. Team
Um,
Jamaica on Instagram.
Team
I can do that.
Jamaica.
Team Jamaica. I loved their little shirts in the movie. Like, I want one of those. They were so cute.
Okay, I must not have seen them. Well, let's get into our movie. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the movie was directed by John Turteltaub, who directs movies like While You Were Sleeping, which is in our list, and Three Ninjas, which is also on our list. He also did the movie Phenomenon and The Kid with Bruce Willis, and National Treasure and Rush Hour. So he's directed a lot of really great movies. This movie was written by Lynn Seifert. She actually wrote the story and then helped adapt the screenplay with Michael Ritchie and Tommy Swerdlow. Tommy Swerdlow also had written Little Giants, which is on our list, Snow Dogs, if you've seen that one, The Grinch, and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. So he wrote all of those things. So you might recognize some of the stuff from there. This movie majorly stars John Candy as Irving Blitzer. Now, John Candy is like well known at this point in his career, often playing a big-hearted buffoon in movies like Uncle Buck and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. He's also in The Great Outdoors, Spaceballs, Stripes, The Blues Brothers, and you have probably seen him in Home Alone as the poker player guy that helps Kevin's mom get back home in the van when she's riding with all the poker players to get back home.
Yes, that makes
We
sense.
need to
All I know,
rewatch Home Alone. We can make sure
yeah,
we put it on the list. Okay.
yeah. No, all I know is my boyfriend and I watched it together, and when John Candy came on screen, he was like, "It's John Candy!" and got so excited. And I was like,
Okay.
"Oh, it's John Candy!" And it was just like the funniest thing. So I was like, I've never seen him like get all like nerded out about like an actor or actress. I was like, okay, interesting.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, Derice Bannock is played by Leon. He has no last name. He's just known as Leon. He has been in movies like Little Richard, The Temptations miniseries, and Above the Rim. He was also in other 90s movies like Cliffhanger, which is on our list, and Waiting to Exhale. And the role of Senka, who is my favorite, is played by Dougie Doug. He is known for movies like Eight-Legged Freaks, and he does the voice of Bernie in Shark Tale. Now, this is not in his like top part of IMDb. I keep complaining about IMDb in this way. I'm not meaning to complain about IMDb. I love the site. Don't get me wrong. But he plays Griff in The Cosby Show, and I get like why maybe that's not listed anymore. But so many other great actors were in that show, and so I feel like it still needs its like space. minus the things that Bill Cosby did. Because that show is just such a good show and it had a lot of really amazing actors that came through that show. And so I'm in it when we talk about it, because we are going to talk about it because it's the 90s. We will try to remove the Cosby out of the Cosby show. It's hard,
Oh,
but you have to look at things kind of for how they are because so many other people put their love and talents into that, and I don't want to diminish it because of him. So,
okay. I've never seen it.
um,
So,
okay, well, we might see like clips of it here and there, and maybe we'll try to de-Cosby it a little bit, just due to the sensitive nature. I don't want to upset anyone, but it was such a good show, and he played Griff. He's a really funny character. He's a really funny guy in that show. So I love Dougie Doug. He's funny. Uh, Junior Bevel was played by Raleigh D. Lewis. Known for his role in Narcos Mexico and a TV show called Life in Pieces. Yul Brenner was played by Malik Yoba, who is known for his roles in The Good Nurse, New York Undercover, and Copland. I will also mention he played a role on a TV series, First Wives Club, which is a new TV adaptation from the 1996 movie. That's our connection today. He's also had a great career between a lot of movies and TV, so I would recommend going and looking at his IMDb. It's quite long, with a lot of different things that he's been through. And you said your favorite character was Junior. So mine was Dougie Doug. So let's get back to the movie. Well, we open on a sunrise in Jamaica. We're introduced to Darius running. He's training for the Olympic trials. The local kids are using toilet paper for his finish line, and he keeps running after he passes the finish line. He keeps running through town. People greet him as he runs by, running past the market. At the market, a lady says, "Handsome as a lion, that one. I could watch that backside all day." So I thought that was funny. On the screen, we see we're in Jamaica in November in 1987. Doris runs to the pushcart finals, and at the pushcart finals, Senka is getting kids on his pushcart team to cheer. Who's the captain of our crew? Who's a friend to me and you? Senka, Senka, Senka. And then Doris walks up and says, "Who's a big hot bag of air who doesn't have to comb his hair, who doesn't bathe and doesn't care? Senka, Senka, Senka." Which I think is so funny that they're like picking on each other. They're obviously friends. Sanka says this will be his seventh derby running or in a row that he's going to win. And Darius and Sanka obviously like you know that they've known each other for a long time. In the stands, we see Darius greet his girlfriend Joy and his mother as they watch the race. Sanka and his buddy are ready. Sanka kisses his lucky egg, something he does before every race the rest of the movie. Before they take off, he says, "Feel the rhythm, feel the rhyme. It's pushcart time." And they fly past everyone saying, "Clear the way, pushcart champion." And they end up winning by a nose, promptly crashing into a small stand at the bottom of the hill. And Doris runs down and says, "Sanka, you dead?" And Sanka says, "Yeah, man," which is really cute. Later at Doris's house, I don't know if it's his girlfriend or wife, but they don't really specify that. But Joy says, "Where are you going? You have papers to grade." So I think that he must be a teacher in his non-Olympics time. But Doris is going out for one last run. He says he's ready to go to the Olympics. He can feel it. Now, at the Olympic track trials, the day of, he is next to a short runner who we now know is Junior's, Hannah's favorite. And on the other side is what Sanka called Big Baldy, who we later know is Yule. Junior tells Doris it'd be an honor to run with him, and he hopes he might make it on the team. And the announcer says, "Runners, take your marks, get set." And then we hear the gunfire. The runners take off, and the crowd cheers. Junior trips and takes and Yule, who are on either side of him. He trips and takes them both down as he falls, letting everyone else win, unfortunately. And Doris sees his Olympics dreams slip away. The next day, Doris is at the Jamaica's Olympic office to talk to the director. He asks to run the race over. He's like begging, which they
Yeah.
won't do. They won't change anything. He says he has to go to the Olympics, and the director tells him he better work on his boxing or his cycling because that's the only other sports Jamaica competes in. But Darius says he's not a boxer nor a cycler. We learned that Darius is actually feeling a little extra pressure because he is the son of an Olympic runner. And he inquires about the photo of his dad on the director's wall that includes some white gentleman. And the director tells him that the man lives on the island and his name is Irving Blitzen. And he's an American who lives on the island and is a bookie. And usually in trouble is kind of what it makes it. He says that Irving was an Olympic bobsledder and he tried to get Darius's dad to switch sports because he was convinced that sprinters would be perfect bobsledders. Darius borrows the picture of his man and his dad, and then on his way out the door asks what a bobsled is, uh, which I thought was really funny. He's like, wait, what's a bobsled? We later see him telling Sanka that a bobsled is a push cart with no wheels and it happens on ice. And Sanka freaks out at the thought of ice, which is funny. While Darius explains it's a winter sport. Darius is telling Sanka that he has to be part of his bobsled team. He could be famous. He could have his picture on a Wheaties box, which honestly, anyone can have their picture. Well, they used to be able to have their picture on a Wheaties box if you just go to the Kellogg Museum. Like you can stand in front of a photo and then they'll print a label that you stick to the front of a Wheaties, like they'll stick it to the front of a Wheaties box, and it's like your name with the Wheaties. So my mom has a picture of she and I like on a Wheaties box in their kitchen up north. And now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if we ever like threw the Wheaties out that were inside. It's sort of like what I'm like wondering what they probably are like. It's been decades. So
Oh
I think I
my
was in eighth grade. And
God.
so yeah, so anyone could technically have their picture on a Wheaties box. At least I used to be able to. I don't know if they still allow you to do that.
Interesting. Okay, I did not know
But
that.
it's
That's
not
pretty cool.
Yeah, it's not like in the grocery store though. Like I guess if I just took it and like left it there, it'd be in the grocery store, but then I'd be responsible for probably poisoning someone. So um, that's a shout out to a Mitch Hedberg joke about taking your CD, his comedy CD into a store and leaving it. That's a nod to that joke. Anyway,
Okay.
we'll get you on to some Mitch Hedberg later. So Sanka says if Darius really wants him to do it, he'll do it. Because people are going to kill to be on his bobsled team, is what Darius is telling him. And so Darius tells Sanka, I really, really want you to do it. And Sanka goes, no. And then he agrees to do it anyway. So the guys go to the dive bar where Irving is listening to the radio, being a bookie and all, and he's apparently lost like whatever track race that he's listening to. I'm assuming it's the horses, and he grabs a pool stick and like beats the crap out of the radio. And Sanka says that guy won 2 gold medals. Therese introduces himself and Sanka to Irving, in which Sanka says, greetings, sled god.
I thought that was
Then
so funny.
he asks if Irving would be interested in coaching the first Jamaican bobsled team. When Irving gets a pool stick again, and the boys run out of the bar, and then they spy him through the windows, and they're pestering him, showing up in the bathroom, that type of thing. Irving says it would be difficult. The difficulty is the snow. You don't have any. You don't time. You don't have any. The Olympics are 3 months away. And Ivan says the other thing is him. Or Irving, sorry, says the other thing is him. They don't have him. Darius reintroduces himself and shows the photo. Darius Bannock, he says. He's Ben Bannock's son. And Irving says Darius's dad was tough. He ran the 100 meters in 10 flat. And Darius says he runs it in 9.9 and asks again to be coached. Irving tells him no, but Darius keeps trying. Later, we see Darius has a room full of people with a slideshow and introduces Irving Blitzer to the group. And then the video starts, and Irving is saying, a bobsled is a simple thing. Basically, what you're trying to do is get your sorry rear ends from the top of an icy sled to the bottom. And then they watch the video as the bobsled zigs and zags and then crashes. And then he says, one minor drawback is the high speed crash. Your bones don't break in a bobsled, they shatter. So who wants in? And they turn the lights
Scary.
on. Yeah. And everyone's gone except for Baldy, Yul Brenner. Yul wants to get out of Jamaica and he thinks this is his ticket out. And Irving says they need one more person. And Junior, who had tripped them in the Olympic trials, shows up and asks if he's late. And Yul is pissed. He's like, not this guy. But everyone finally calms down. They decide to work together. And Doris says, Irv, say hello to the first Jamaican bobsled team. Later, we see Irving introducing them to a bobsled with wheels, and he assigns positions. So Yule is the second middleman. He's strong and he's fast. Junior is the first middleman. He's quick and he's sharp. Because whoever's going to be like further up has to run faster, right? They have to like get. So Sanka is upset. He's going to be the brake man, and he's in the back. Doris is the driver, and the driver has to be 100% focused at all times. He needs to know every course and study it constantly, never drinking or slacking off, as he's responsible for 3 other men's lives in his sled. So the driver is Doris and not Sanka for that reason. And by then, Sanka agrees. He's like, "Yeah, I don't want to be responsible."
I thought that was so funny when he was like, I'm okay. Like, I'll
Yeah,
be brave
I'm
man.
good. I'm good. I'll be the
Yeah.
brake man. So Irving has won 2 gold medals. He's got 9 world records, both in the 2-man and 4-man events, which is when I learned that there were 2-man and 4-man events. He's got 10 years of intense competition with the best athletes in the world, he says. The next day, Junior tells his dog that he's going to be a bobsledder, practicing to tell his dad while he's polishing a sports car. His dad comes home and tells him he got Junior a job in Miami, and Junior doesn't say really anything. Later, we're learning about the push start. So the sled is 600 pounds. 600 pounds.
That's what I was
That's
shocked. I was like,
heavy.
this does not look 600 pounds.
Yeah.
Oh my
Respectable
God.
start time is 5.7 seconds. They run drills and practice being cold by getting into an ice cream truck, which I thought was funny.
Yeah.
On one run, they get a great start. They head down the track, they lose control, and they crash into the police cruiser. But they did it in 5.9, so that was pretty darn good. Well, Irving petitions the Jamaican Olympic director for money and to support the head of the Olympics, and the director to head to the Olympics, and the director says no. Like, I'm not paying for that. You're going to embarrass us. We're not paying for that. So the guys decide to fundraise themselves. So Sanka panhandles and he goes out singing, some people say we can't believe Jamaica, we have a bobsled team. We're one Darius and one Junior, Yul Brenner and the man Sanka, the fastest of the fastest of Jamaican sprinters, go to the Olympics and fight for Jamaica. So a man pays Cinca $1 to stop singing. And if you want to pay me to not sing that again, I will gladly accept your money. Uh, You'll arm wrestles for money and winning most of the time, only losing once to a woman. Go that woman. Woo-hoo. Doris has a kissing booth, which pisses off his girlfriend, wife, Joy person. Junior
Yeah,
sold his
that would
car
piss
for the
me off
money.
too.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially if you didn't like run it by her.
Yeah.
Because so yeah, Junior sold his car for the money and still didn't tell his dad, and this is where they got the rest of the money that they needed. So the team flies to Calgary, Canada, and it's a blizzard outside. Sanka puts on every piece of clothing that he bought or that he brought with him, and he even wears a suitcase to stay warm. There's a really good scene where they're like walking, and it's like Irv and the team, and they're like following Irv through the airport, and they're following Irv everywhere, and then they go outside, and Irv steps outside, and the guys are like still inside looking at the blizzard that's happening outside that is Calgary. So it's pretty funny.
I know exactly what scene you're talking about. That was hilarious. And
Yeah.
Sanka's
And then he puts
layers.
on his yeah, they puts on all the clothes and then the suitcase as well.
He looks
Um
like an Eskimo. I loved it.
Yeah. So the guys are freezing and they head to a sporting goods shop and they get winter gear. Perfect. If you don't have the right clothes, you're always going to be cold. I always say that, like, it's not cold if you have the right clothes. At the Olympic trials, Ivan heads to register for bobsled. In order to qualify, they have to complete the course safely within 1 minute, 2 seconds or under, which is less than what Irving remembers at 1:05. So I thought that was interesting that it's changed, sped up. He runs into people from Team USA and his past bobsled days, and he meets his buddy Roger, and he like gets him to come to this restaurant, meet him later, and he asks him for help to get a sled for 5K, which he gets him a practice sled from the Americans because he's on Team USA. Um, he brags to Roger that his guys can run the 100 in under 10 flat. He says that's lightning, is what Irv says. And Roger says,
Yeah.
but can lightning run on ice? Which is a very good point. Like, oh
Yeah.
crap, they can run really fast, but can they run that fast on ice?
Oh my God. Watching them like in the ice skating, like ice area, watching them try to walk, I was like, yeah, yeah.
Especially after they watch the speed skaters and they think it's going to be easy. And then they get on the ice and they're like, no, they
Yeah.
fall down everywhere. It's like B&B. So they only have like a little bit of time and they have to get off the ice before hockey practice. And I thought it was funny that the hockey players came out and then Yule just like bumps one of them, slams him down, and then proceeds to walk away cool and falls himself. So Dries then later visits the track to see the bobsled team from Switzerland, and they're like eins, zwei, drei, and they head down the track and are expected to be the gold place winners that year. They're kind of like the best of the best at that year. The guys head to the sled shed and uncover their practice sled. Irv had bought the team, and it's this old bare metal sled. At practice, everyone else has this beautiful sled, and they arrive with their old metal sled. And I'm just going to point out in this scene, Yule has my bright orange camo in a snowsuit that we were literally just talking about like 2 weeks ago. That I'll have to post a picture of because he's wearing the same one. And I was like, I have that.
Oh
That
my
is
God, wait, that's the
mine.
exact same one.
It's like the same. I mean, it's orange camo. Like how much
Yeah.
different can you? It's orange camo pants and orange camo jacket.
Okay.
Like I don't know if it's the exact. I mean, I'm sure it's a different size. He's much bigger than me, but
Yeah.
um, mine's a woman's. But at the same time, it's like orange camo, and I was like, I have
Yeah.
that. That is what I wear.
Oh my gosh.
It looks the
I love
same.
him. I love him. Like even though he was not kind of, even though he was mean, I mean like kind of rightfully so. I loved him. I loved his character development.
Yeah, well, he's just trying to like he's trying to make it, and he doesn't want to like let anyone stand in his way. So,
Yeah.
unfortunately, the German uh jerk faces tease the guys as Irving pushes them to the start. Apparently, the rule is high in and low out, is what Irving tells them. Now, I was on the Google. I call it the Googs, and it's a core racing technique where the pilot steers the sled high on the outside wall of a curve to build speed, and then right as they're coming out of it, they drop low to the inside at the exit to carry momentum efficiently, minimizing the distance and maximizing speed through the turn, and then onto the next straight, optimizing the path for gravity and momentum. So you go high in and then you come out low of a turn. But on the giant curve, they crash, unfortunately. Back in the room, Yule and Senka get into a spat. Senka calls him stupid. Yule says he wants to live in a big house like this one, and he shows him a picture where Senka starts laughing because it's Buckingham Palace. He picked out Buckingham Palace and thought he wanted to live there. And Junior stops Senka. I think this is really sweet. This is where Junior stops Senka, and he says, "There's the more Yul Brenner's making it in the world, the better. He'll get whatever he wants one day." And like, that's good for Jamaica. They aren't
That's
doing.
why I like Junior.
That's why you like Junior. Oh, okay.
He's
He
so
did like
sweet.
trip them though. So, and he,
I
yeah,
yeah. I also didn't like that. I didn't hold against him though, because like if I was a professional runner, which I would never be, I would trip people too accidentally. Like obviously not intentionally, but like that's something I would so accidentally do. So I was like, like, can we blame him? And I like the fact that he like sold his car to help fund them and was like so passionate about this. He was like, I'm gonna be a bobsledder. Like, I
Yeah,
love
but
that.
when you fall, you don't purposefully like grab at the people next to you and
Yeah,
like try to he kind of like trying to take them down a little bit and maybe not intentionally, but he was trying to break his fall.
yeah,
Also, you could tell he was running faster than he was capable, but
yeah.
that's okay. So they aren't doing well in the prep for trials. So they crashed in the first run, as we talked about. They don't get in the sled in the second run, as we see, and they really need to get working. So a coach from Team USA sits next to Doris and tells him that Irving has two gold medals taken away for cheating, and that's a big deal. Apparently, Irving had weights in the front of his sled in the 72 games. Junior then gets a telegram back at the room. He has to come home right away and considers going home. Sanka Jr. and Yule go out to the bar where Sanka is line dancing, which I think is hilarious, and Yule and Junior sit down at the bar and talk. What's really funny is in the beginning of that scene, like Senka like doesn't know the steps and he hasn't really figured it out, and he's not dressed in like the cowboy regalia that everybody else is wearing. By the end of the scene, like he and the lady next to him have switched hats. He like knows every step and he's doing really well. I just thought how funny it was that he like picked up so quickly on the dance and then just like got really into it. I thought it was perfect.
Yeah,
I
he's so
wish,
like uplifting. I love him too. He's
yeah,
my second favorite.
okay. I'm not trying to sway you, but
He's
Sanka
great.
is up there.
He's funny. He's hilarious. That's my second favorite.
Yeah. And so Yule and Junior, they're sitting at the bar and talking, and Yule said, Junior, you can't go home. Like the German jerk face says they don't belong here and should go home. He kind of walks over and he's kind of a jerk face. And Yule scares him away, which is funny. Yule hauls Junior to the bathroom to look in the mirror and he says, what do you see? And he has him say that he has pride, power, and is a bad A mother who won't take crap from no one. Junior leaves the bathroom in a huff and heads to the German jerkface and asks him for an apology or else. The German guy pushes him down and Yule punches the German guy and they get into this big bar fight. Later, the three guys are back in the hotel room, and Doris is, of course, scolding them. Irving comes in and says he took care of the whole thing and got them to drop any thought of pressing charges. He leaves the room very disappointed in them. They work. They wake Irving up the next morning and say it's butt whipping time. They go for a run, they practice, they push weights, they practice running on ice, they do chin ups, and they do more running on ice. They practice in the bathtub leaning, practicing the course. We see Irv say, tonight's the night, and he gives them their Jamaican bobsled suits, which are really spiffy. I don't know how he had those made so quickly or when they got in, but right before qualifying, we learned that the Alliance changed the qualifying time again to 1 minute flat now, which I don't think you should be able to do that, change like in the middle of trials. The track is clear and Jamaica takes off. It's a great run, and we see them at the bottom waiting for their time, and they get 59:46 qualified. Before we move on, and without spoiling it, how did you feel about them qualifying?
I was surprised. I mean, given their first two attempts, I was like, there's like they're from Jamaica. There's no way. But like a part of me was like, okay, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I did totally like look up the original story. I didn't go like into much detail, but I wanted to know if it was like what the true story was. So like I unfortunately spoiled it for myself. But
No.
yeah, I like totally spoiled it for myself, and I was like, oh my God. But I was very happy for them, but I was surprised. I really thought it was gonna be more about, which I guess in a sense it is, but I thought the movie's gonna be more about them not making it, but like learning to almost like gain confidence that they could like do stuff, that they could do more than they think they're capable of and things like that. So
Yeah.
I was surprised. I didn't think they would.
Well, in celebration, they then painted the Jamaica sled to match their outfits, which was perfect. They celebrate over the sled with sodas and decide to name their sled Tallulah after Junior's mom. They decide the fans can shout cool runnings, which means peace be the journey.
I have that written down. I love that. I was like, this is my cool runnings.
Disqualification. So this is where we get the news that a messenger arrives and they get a letter that says they are officially disqualified. Irving bursts into the committee. The alliance says they changed the policy. Irving says take old grievances out on him, not them. They earned the right to represent their country, and that is exactly what the Olympics are about. And Irving leaves. Back at the hotel room, he gets a call, and the alliance has let them back in. Yay! Back in Jamaica, people are watching the bobsledders on TV and are proud, which is awesome to give them another sport to root for. At the Olympics, we see the team check into their new home in Olympic Village. Irving says he doesn't have a good speech or pep talk, so he's going to lead them in a psalm. Our Father, who art in Calgary, bobsled be thy name. Thy kingdom come, gold medals won, on earth as it is in turn 7, with liberty and justice for Jamaica and Haile Selassie. Amen. Now, Haile Selassie is like the Messiah of the Rastafari, so that's like their Jesus.
Oh my God,
He's a
I thought that
leader.
was so funny.
Yeah. My favorite part was on earth as it is in turn 7. I was
My favorite
cracking
part
up.
is like when he says bobsled, like at the very beginning.
Bobsled be
I
thy
was like,
name. So Junior's dad shows up at the Olympics and Junior asks what his dad sees in him. And his dad says he's a lost little boy. And Junior says he's not a lost little boy. He's a man and he's Olympian and he's not leaving. I think that's a really strong line. He's an Olympian. Like,
yeah.
yeah, I'm an Olympian. Like, I made it. I'm not just like dreaming in my bedroom. I made it and I'm not leaving. And Yule tells Junior he's a bad A for telling that to his dad. The bobsleds are going 80 miles per hour in the next runs, and Jamaicans are bopping around. They barely got in, and they didn't have a good run at 58:04, but it's good enough for last place. Back at the hotel, Sanka tells Therese not to copy the style of the Swiss and the others. The best they can be is not Swiss, it's Jamaican. They better bobsled Jamaican.
Mhm.
So before they start, we see them arriving, and Jamaica has a bobsled team. Some people say they can't believe Jamaica has a bobsled team. Which I was singing the rest of the night after I watched this movie. So,
Oh my
yeah,
God.
I've even been singing it this morning. So yeah, just get that song out of my head. It will never leave.
I'm
They
pretty
put their
sure this is like around when they had like the funny Jamaica shirts. I'm pretty sure that scene is like around that. And I was like, there's Jamaica
yeah
shirts. I want
yeah.
one.
So they put their hands in and they shout respect. And now instead of Ein, zwei, drei, they say, this is something that my brother and I always say too. Feel the rhythm, feel the rhyme. Look out below. It's bobsled time. Now, this run, they were faster getting in than the Swiss, and they had a clean run. They drove in unison and they landed at 56:53. Everyone was cheering, and that bumped them up to eighth place. That was insane. If they had done another run like that, they would have probably medaled. At the
Yeah.
hotel, Darius is studying his turns. Irving comes back in and asks if he wants to go to dinner, and Darius wants to stay in and study. Before heading out, Darius asks Irving why he cheated. And first of all, like, mad props to Darius because he found out this information and he didn't like feel betrayed or completely lose it and want to leave or blow up and feel like he's been misled or led on. He just like calmly asked him later, like, hey, why did you do this? And Irving
Yeah.
said he did it because he had to win. He had made winning his whole life. And when you make winning your whole life, you have to keep winning. Irving tells him
Mhm.
a gold medal is a wonderful thing, but if you're not enough with it, you'll never be enough with, or sorry, if you're not enough without it, you'll never be enough with it. That was a really good line. Um,
That's so true too. Like with any achievement in general.
yeah, if you're not enough without it, you'll never be enough with it. Right.
Yeah.
The next day, the reporters are rooting for the Jamaicans as well. They have their Jamaican t-shirts. The final race, they get super fast down the track. During their turns, most of the way down the track, they get up to 76 miles per hour and the sled rudder comes loose. They're out of control and they have a crash, sliding down the track sideways on their heads, which looks so I have seen this movie and I still watched it going, one of them's dead. Like one of them's neck is broken.
Yes, that's what I thought. That's what I, because John has seen Cool Runnings, and I was like, or I think he has. I think he like saw it years ago, and I like told him that, and he was like, no, like, no one's dead, and I was like, they have to be. They were
Yeah.
on their side, like
Like his neck is
logistically
like
flawed.
wedged between the ice and the sled at one point, and
Yes.
I don't know. I agree with you. I've seen the movie and I still was like, there is no way they come out alive, but they did.
Yeah.
Um, and this is where we hear Senka finally say, Doris, you dead? And Doris says, no, man. And Doris says he has to finish the race. So the medical team is like running towards them, but the bobsledders get out and they carry their cart to the finish line. Now, this is the true story. The East German guy starts the slow clap. We love a good slow clap in the 90's. I do have to tell you that. The slow clap has been around for a while, but in the 80's and 90's, it was everywhere. And then in the 2000s, there's like movies of them making fun of the slow clap, like trying to get the slow clap to keep coming back. And like there's jokes about it, like a guy
Oh.
going, and like nobody joins in with him, so he just stops. Like that's a joke in the 2000s because of the 80's and 90's getting that slow clap going.
Oh my God.
Honestly, I think I'm gonna try like getting that to happen somewhere, like maybe at work, like just like get a slow clap going and see if anybody joins in.
Can you? Can you record it and we could put it on our TikTok?
Uh, Everyone is now rooting for these athletes as they're walking. Junior's dad is alongside the track rooting for his son and also has a Jamaica t-shirt. Woo woo! The other teams congratulate Jamaica and tells them they'll see them back in 4 years. Somehow Senka has his lucky egg still and he kisses it. Irv hugs the guys and they get a photo taken, which gets hung on the director's wall, which I love. And we learn from the text on the screen that Jamaican bobsled team returned to their country as heroes. 4 years later, they return to the Olympics as equals. So, what'd you think?
So let me see. So I said like the first part when Doris, I believe it, yeah, when Doris was running and he was wearing those like shorts with the tucked in t-shirt. Was that like a 90's inspired outfit? I wanted to ask. Is that like a did guys like wear that around that time?
He's just tucking in his shirt and running in his running shorts.
Yeah, I like
Yeah, that
really
was
don't see.
pretty
Okay.
normal running wear. I mean, there was embarrassingly short shorts running wear, and then there was like regular short running wear. But yeah, that's just a standard running wear. Yep.
Okay. I generally don't see a lot of guys wear tucked in shirts, so I thought that was super cool. I was like, oh my
And
God. I
and
just
this was
like,
technically like supposed to be look like the 80's too. So I mean, it kind of carried over, but this was supposed to be like 1987, 1988.
okay. That makes more sense. Yes, I didn't
I
even
mean,
like put
no,
two and two
because
together with that.
tucking is still a thing.
Yeah.
There's like there was like tucking in some situations, and I mean you're gonna it's case by case basis, I think, because like grunge is popular in the 90's and grunge was baggy clothes, and then also like there was a whole like baggy clothes, bright colors look that came out of like hip hop and rap and things like that as well. That was really popular, but then like but still like things were still tucked in some situations, like and especially and if they were trying to portray like this person's kind of a nerd or a goody two shoes, it would definitely be tucked. Because like if you watch
Okay.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, like I feel like Carlton's outfits are always tucked in, like his shirts are always tucked in, and he was supposed to be portrayed as kind of a nerd. So I think it kind of depended on the situation because even in Boy Meets World, I feel like Corey's shirts were like tucked in until he got older. And then it kind of became more of like the baggy clothes,
That
loose
makes sense.
stuff. Yeah, you'll have to go back and watch. But I mean, it was kind of the same in the 80's. Like I think it was more tucked in the 80's than it was like getting into the 90's. But yeah.
Okay. Good to know. I liked when you was told, how about I draw lines on your head and make it look like a butt? I was
I
like,
laughed at that as well.
I was like, oh, that's a good insult. Period. Yes. Okay, I did write about the push start. I said push start, very important. I also learned so much more about the Olympics than I've ever known. Do they have like, does the Olympics have like three different like sections, like three different races and like actual for the actual Olympics? I literally know nothing about the Olympics. So everything I like learned was from
Yeah, they
you.
have. Okay, I'm no Olympics expert. I'm not even a good sports person. So, however, I believe they have multiple runs to get your time. And like, I mean, we can Google it. I'm sure the Googs would have
Yeah.
better answers. But yeah, I think it would be interesting. I've never watched bobsledding before. So I would assume that you have a couple runs and then your time kind of. I would hate to think that your Olympics medals literally were about one run that is less than a minute long.
Okay. Yeah,
So
okay. A lot of
I
my
think,
questions are about the Olympics.
yeah, I
So
mean, okay, you can ask them and maybe we can figure it out. But I assume that you have like, yeah, the three runs and then that's your score.
okay, good to
So,
know. Good to know. Good to know. I thought the Buckingham Palace scene was so sad but so moving because like Junior's so
yeah.
cute. And I was like, okay, like he might have just like pulled up the Buckingham Palace, but like I love that him and oh yes, also totally off topic. I totally off well kind of on topic. I love how Yule and Junior became friends. And when Yule like kissed his forehead at the end, I was like, yes. That was so
Yeah,
cute.
from hating each other to becoming friends was really good.
Enemies to best friends. I love, or not like best friends, but I loved that. I loved
Yeah.
that. I was also appalled to hear that Urban cheated 16 years prior. I was like, that's terrible. And that,
Yeah.
like, I had so many questions. Like, how did they find out? Like, how you,
Well, they check their sleds, so your sleds get checked, I'm
oh,
sure.
okay, that
Or
makes
somebody
sense.
noticed it. I mean, the thing is that's like when baseball players got caught putting like cork in their bat to make it lighter and their swing lighter so that they can swing faster or something. Um, I mean, there's a lot of different things that people have been caught cheating over the years, and that's such like an I mean, that's against everything that sportsmanship is about. It's about being honest
Yeah.
and doing your best. And if you're good at it and spending enough time and you make it, then you win. And if you aren't as great, then you lose. And it's just kind of sometimes it's a matter of who you're up against. It's not necessarily like about you and your own scores. So yeah, I think that they probably investigated all the sleds are in one space. So I'm sure that it was really easy for somebody to like be like, look in there and be like, that's weighted. Or also if their time was insane and like that might have been under invest, somebody might have like said something's going on here. How did they like get down there 30 seconds faster? Or I don't know what the
Yeah,
difference would have been, but like, you know, they
that
could
makes
have
sense.
investigated their sled. Yeah. I thought it was
Yeah.
sad that he was doing so well, and then why would you even need to cheat? Like, how were you?
Yeah.
I think it would have been helpful for the storyline to also be like, what changed that made you feel like you needed to cheat to win? Like, how did you, weren't you just going to win anyway? Because you've won the last few, but maybe he had like tough competition and he wanted to guarantee his win. I don't know. He didn't
No,
specify that.
that's
So.
I think they should have done something more with that and like
I
explained
mean,
it.
it's
I
only
agree.
like, I mean, the thing is, this is a 90-minute movie. It's a Disney movie. I'm sure a lot of things ended up in the cutting room floor of the storyline, and they had to cut it back for editing, and they have to like you have to have like overshots so that they understand. The one thing I noticed when I was typing up these notes is like there's never a concept of time. Like it's like we see later. I kept like saying, having to say we see later because we don't know. Is it the same day? Is it later that day? Is it the next day? Is it the next weekend? Like we have no concept of time in this movie.
Yeah, no, like the 3 month period, there wasn't like a 1 month later. You know how like a lot of movies have like the cutscenes where it's like 1 month later. Yeah, I feel like they should have done that. But overall, loved this movie, especially a lot more than I thought I would. Because like I don't like sports. I don't do sports. Like, but like
Yeah.
it's Jamaican bobsledders who are all funny and like although there wasn't like much romance, like I liked the romance with Joy and stuff like that. Like I thought that was kind of cute, even though it was like very like there wasn't a lot of screen time with that, but like I just love the little man
didn't
What
need
else?
it because the relationship romance or like it was more of a bromance. It was like the building of
Yeah,
the team. It's the relationship of them to their coach. It's the relationship to them around them. So it wasn't about like supposed to be about romantic. It was about relationship building between
yeah,
these characters and bringing them together and what it takes to be on a sports team together. We might not see as much of that in the next movie here, but we are going to keep with the sports theme for just one more movie. And our next watch is the 1996 movie Space Jam. So, Hannah, what do you know about this movie?
I know Bugs Bunny and Lola Bunny are in it, right? Please tell me I'm
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I love Lola Bunny. I'm obsessed with her. Like, she is my spirit animal. Just saying, guys, she will 100% be my favorite character. I will put money on that. Wait, are her
Okay.
and Bugs like together in the movie? I just need to
I
know.
think you just need to watch the movie. I'm not going to spoil it for you. Do
Okay.
you know anything else about this movie?
I've seen like trailers, I think, for the newer one, but I really never got into it. I know like my dad likes it, I think. I know it has to do with like the Looney Tunes, obviously. I know very little about the plot. I know, isn't it like cartoon characters and like actual people as well? Like, isn't it
Yes.
that? Okay. Okay. Cool.
Well, let's get into the synopsis. So, Space Jam is in 1996. It's about a basketball legend, Michael Jordan, teaming up with Bugs Bunny and Looney Tunes to win a high stakes basketball game against the aliens, the Monstars, who want to enslave the cartoons for their theme park, Moron Mountain, by stealing their talent. Uh, so that's how they're doing that. And then Jordan must use his skills to save his new friends and blend of live action and animation. It stars all of your Looney Tune favorites, as well as Michael Jordan, Wayne Knight, Teresa Randall, Penny Bay Bridges, Brandon Hammond, Larry Bird, Bill Murray, Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing, Tyrone Bogue, Larry Johnson, and so many other actors and basketball players are in this movie. So it's a blend of sports and animation. It boosted Michael Jordan's cultural icon status even more than it already was. And it also revitalized the Looney Tunes for the next generation. So ultimately, it's a really good watch. I think it'll be fun. I have not seen this movie since probably a few years after it came out. I probably watched it again, but that's about it. So it's been a long time. But we'll talk more about this movie next week, including the music that helped make the movie iconic. And we'll also be joined by a special guest, my best friend and fellow millennial, Lori, who's been asking, when are we finally watching this movie? So
I'm so
she is now very excited that it is falling in her favorite month of January. And that's it. So that's it for this
awesome.
episode of Millennial Meets Gen Z. Thanks for pressing play and experiencing the 90s with us. If this episode sparked a memory of your favorite scene from Cool Runnings or gave you a new perspective on a childhood 90s favorite, we'd love to hear your thoughts. So follow and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Find us on Instagram and Facebook for the behind the scenes content. I'll put up a picture of me in that camo suit. The bright orange camo, same as you'll put them side by side. I'll be like, this is the same suit. But until our next episode, be kind and rewind. Bye.
Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.